Good morning, students. Today we are going to read the second poem of the syllabus, that is, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum by Stephen Spender. Before beginning about the poet, Sir Stephen Harold Spender was an English poet, novelist, and essayist who concentrated on the themes of social injustice and the class struggle in his work. He was appointed Poet Laureate Consultant in Poetry to the United States Library of Congress in 1965. Spender has keen interest in politics, and so he declared himself as socialist and pacifist. His reputation for humanism and honesty is fully justified in subsequent volumes. Runes and Vision, 1942, Poems of Dedication, 1947, The Edge of Being, 1949, Collection Poems, 1955, Selected Poems, 1965, The Chandra's Days, 1971, and Dolphins, 1994. Introduction to the poem. An elementary school classroom in a slum was published by Stephen Spender in 1965. The poem resonates, means echoes, the poet's political views and brings forth the difficulties faced by the king in Slum. This poem was written to highlight the social injustice prevailing at that time in the world. In the poem, he describes the condition of the slums of an elementary school, which is situated in a slum area. The poet wants to draw attention of everyone towards these kids so that their life can be improved and they may get trained to become good citizens rather than criminals. Summary. This poem by Stephen Spender gives a vivid description of a school classroom in a slum and the children in the classroom. The faces of children are dull. Their appearance shows that they are unwanted. The children has gloomy faces, their heads hanging low in sadness due to the poor. They have diseased bodies inherited from the parents and are victims of poverty. At the dim end of the room sits one child who has bright eyes which seems to dream of playing outside the squirrels. He is different from the others in the dim, dark room. The walls of the classroom are dirty. People have donated different charts and images which have been put up on them. One of them is a picture of great playwright Shakespeare. His head is bald, resembles the shining rising sun. The next poster is of Trailis Valley, full of churches and flowers, which symbolizes the beautiful creation of nature. Another one is a map of the world. To these children, the world is not the one shown in these pictures, but it is the one they see outside the classroom window. They are trapped in slums. Their future is dim and hopeless. They have a dark future as their options in life are limited and are covered with dismay. They are very far away from the bright lights of knowledge. Comprehending these pictures is beyond their abilities. They hate everyone, and for them, Shakespeare is a wicked man. As no one loves them, they dislike everyone. The desire for love and acceptance forces them to do crimes like stealing. The children are so skinny that their clothes are like skin, and their skeleton is visible to them. This is due to lack of nutrition. They have worn looking glasses made of steel, which are cheap, heavy, and uncomfortable. Their chances of fulfillment, their dreams, and moving out have been further reduced by building bigger slums. Until they come out of the slums, they will never know what the world looks like. The government system, which makes them slum, these slums, is the cause for these people to live in them. The education system is such that it forces them to live in these slums. They are not given the right to dream beyond these slums. They have been restricted to the slums. The poet requests the authorities to allow the children to go out of these slums so that the maps on the walls of the classroom become a reality for them. They should be taken to the green fields rather than the dim slums. The sunny, warm sand of the beaches and the bright blue sky will instill a hunger for knowledge in their minds. Then they will be absorbed, all of us. Then these children will become economically empowered. The poem ends with a powerful line: those who make history are the ones who shine like the sun. Rhyme scheme of the poem. The poem has been written in free verse, so it doesn't have any rhyming scheme. Means it doesn't have any kind of, you can say, lines which are rhyming with each other. Free verse, without any foundation of rhyming. Okay, now poem and explanation. First paragraph. Far, far from gusty waves, these children faces like rootless weeds, the hair turned round their pallor. The tall girl with her weight head down head, the paper seeming boy with red eyes, the stunted, unlucky hair of twisted pawns, reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. At back of the dim class, one unknotted, sweet, and young, his eyes lives in dream of squirrels game in the tree room other than this. Hard meanings, word meanings. Gusty waves means breezy winds. Pallor means pale or dull face without color, or you can say colorless. Stunted, not fully grown due to malnutrition. They are not fully getting any kind of nurture or nourishment. Gnarled, knotted or rough. Weeds, unwanted plant that grow on their own and you just uproot them. Paper seeming boy, a very thin boy, just like a sheet of paper. Here sees successes. Explanation of this stanza. The poet describes the children who study in an elementary school which is set up in a slum area. The poet says that the faces of children are dull and without any energy. They are not full of energy like other kids of their age. These children are compared to unwanted weed. Here the poet wants to say that these children seem to be unwanted like the unwanted weeds which grow on their own in the fields. The hair is not neatly done. It falls on the pale faces as if they have been torn apart. The children are untidy. They haven't combed their hair. Then he describes a tall girl who seems to be burdened by poverty. Her head is bent, maybe because of tiredness or shame. There is another boy who is so weak and thin that he has been compared to a sheet of paper so thin. The boy's eyes reflect greed and he wants to achieve everything. He seems to be very hungry. And then he describes another student who is physically disabled. The poet says that this boy is unlucky because he inherited a disease from his father, due to which he has a deformed body. Instead of getting any facility from his father, he has received a disease in heritage. This disabled boy is sitting on his bench and is reciting his lesson. At the back of the class, in dim, dark area, was a small boy who was not visible to the poet as he was sitting in darkness. The poet could see his eyes, which were bright and full of dream. He was not paying attention to the class. It seemed as if he was rather interested in playing with swells in the treehouse. So you can see very well that the students in this classroom, they are not attentive, maybe because of poverty or maybe because of any other reason. Now, literary devices like rootless weeds. Here, simile. Children are compared with rootless weeds. Paper seeming boy. Metaphor, boy is compared with the paper as he is thin. And repetition, use of far, far to stress on distance. Far, far means very, very far. Okay, second paragraph. On sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's hat, cloudless as dawn, civilized storm riding all cities, pelled flowery Troilus valley, open-handed map awarding the world its world. And yet for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, were all their futures painted with a fog. A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words. Word meaning. Sa. Unpleasant here refers to the color of sour cream, off white or creamish, yellowish. So the classrooms are just like having these kind of sour walls. These are dirty walls, you can say, and creating an unpleasing smell. Donation, things given or received in charity. Dawn, early morning or sunrise. Civilized dome, it means rising sun at the horizon, which is in the shape of a dome semicircle. Thales Valley, a beautiful ice-free valley in Austria, sealed, shut or locked. Let, here in this poem, dark future of capes, a large piece of land that sticks out in the sea from the coast. Explanation. The poet describes the walls of the school. They are cream in color like the color of the sour cream. This means that the walls are not clean. They have not been painted recently. The walls are covered with different charts and images that must have been donated by different people. There is a picture of Shakespeare on the wall. He had his head, which is bald, looks like the rising sun at the horizon. At the time of daybreak, the sun is rising at the horizon and is semicircular, like a dome shape. It seems to be behind all the cities. There is a picture of the famous Troilus Valley, which has beautiful flowers. There is the image of map, which helps all in its own way. But for these children, the map of the world is irrelevant because the slum where they live in is different from what is shown in the map. The world is only what they see out of the window of the classroom, the slum. The future is full of darkness. The future is compared to a narrow street, which means that there is no wide scope available for their future growth. These children are far away from the radiant light of knowledge and education. Literary devices in the paragraph. First, metaphor. Sour cream walls. Here, walls are described to be dull, just like a sour cream. Then the narrow street sealed with lead sky. The future of the kids is described as limited. Assonance, repetition of vowel sound in Pell, Floy, Troilus Valley. You can see E is repeated. The vowel sound E is being repeated. Allusion, reference to well-known person or place Shakespeare's hat or Troilus Valley. Repetition, again use of far, it's repeated. Para number 3. Surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal. For lives they styly turn in the cramped halls, from fog to endless night. On their slag heap they syndrome wear skins, peep through by pawns and spectacles of steel, with mended glass, like portal bits on stones. All of their time and space are foggy slum, so plot their maps with slum as big as doom. Difficult words. Wicked means evil, tempted means to persuade someone, slyly, trickily, cramped means confined, slack, weak, mended means repaired, plot means to mark with a spot, and doom means disaster. The poet further says that these children living in the slum area have focused so many hardships that they feel every other person to be their enemy. For them, Shakespeare is an evil man. They don't find the map to be a good thing. They were never liked or loved by anyone. Therefore, they hate almost everyone. Their desire of being loved by others forces them to steal. They live in small homes and they have started adjusting to it. Their life is going towards an endless night. This means that the future is full of darkness. These kids are so thin that one can easily see their bones through the thin layer of skin. Their skin is like the thin layer of cloth, and the bones beneath are visible through the skin. These kids suffer from malnutrition. They wear spectacles which are made of steel. They are very cheap and very uncomfortable. Even the lenses in the spectacles are repaired. The spectacles look like stones which have been repaired with pieces of glass sticking out of them. Here the poet tries to explain that these kids have to face so many hardships in their life. As these slums are getting bigger, they will destroy the future of these children. And it is very difficult for such kids to escape from them. Literary devices used in the paragraph. First, metaphor. In cramped halls, the expression cramped hall, it represents metaphor. The homes are like very small, like halls. Simile, line is like portal bits on stone. Now here they are repaired spectacles. An alliteration, use of F sound from fog, FF. Okay, next paragraph, stanza. Unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. Break or break, open till they break the town, and show the children to green fields and make their world run azure on cold sands, and let their tongues run naked into books, the white and green leaves open. History theirs, whose language is the sun. Difficult words. Catacombs means tomb or cemetery. You can see tomb, azure, deep blue. Explanation of the stanza. The poet says that the government should take notice of the problems being faced by these kids. He urges them to change the life of these kids and make the world map a reality for them. There is a need to break the restrictions which are put on them due to poverty and lack of resources. He wants the governor and the public to help these kids in achieving their dreams, as this will take them away from fog to azure sky. The poet here wants to say that in this way the kids can be taken away from the darkness of the present to a bright future. He wants these kids to experience the science, the beauty of nature, as this will lead to a desire of gaining knowledge. They will then go to the white and green leaves. Here, white leaves depict books and green leaves depict nature. This will then result in their progress and they will be able to paint a bright future for themselves. Literary devices used in the paragraph, in the stanza, metaphor, books and nature are expressed in the form of white and green leaves. The white green leaves open, you can see the line. Anaphora, use of repeated words in two consecutive lines. Run azure, and in the next line, run necked. The same kind of repeated words in different consecutive lines. Okay, now we are going to discuss about the question and answer given in the textbook. Question number 1. Take the item which best answers the following. A. The tall girl with head weighed down means the girl, option 1, is ill and exhausted. Option 2, has her head bent with shame. Option 3, has untidy hair. And the answer is the girl is ill and exhausted. B. The paper seeming boy with red eyes means the boy is, option 1, sly and secretive. 2, thin, hungry and weak. 3, unpleasant looking. And the answer is thin, hungry and weak. The boy is thin, hungry and weak. C. The stunted, unlucky hair of twisted bones means the boy, option 1, has an inherited disability. Option 2, was short and bony. And the answer is the boy has an inherited disability. D. His eyes lives in a dream, a squirrel's game in the tree room other than this means the boy is, number 1, full of hope in the future. Number 2, mentally ill. Number 3, distracted from the lesson. And the answer is the boy was distracted from the lesson. And now E. The children's faces are compared to the rootless weeds. This means they are insecure, number 1. Number 2, are ill-fed. Number 3, are wasters. And the answer is the rootless weeds, that the children's faces are compared to rootless weeds, and it means that they are wasters. Question number 2. What do you think is the color of sour cream? Why do you think the poet has used this expression to describe the classroom walls? Answer is the color of sour cream is pale and dull, and the poet used this expression to describe the classroom walls because the walls were not freshly painted and they were dirty. And the walls of the classroom were dirty and were not beautiful. You can compare these two by the color also. The sour cream color is palish, creamish, and the same thing is of the rooms. The rooms are having the classroom wall, they are also just like dirty. Question number 3. The walls of the classrooms are decorated with the pictures of Shakespeare, building with domes, with maps, beautiful valleys. How do these contrast with the world of these children? Answer. The various pictures on the wall are not similar to the world of these slum-dwelling children because they have never got adequate facilities or education. They have always seen crimes happening around them. And that is why it is said that in the poem that for these children Shakespeare is a wicked man. Not only this, the world is the dirty slum area in which they live in, which is continuously expanding. Hence the world maps which never show slums and the beautiful valley which is never seen and is out of reach of such children are in total contrast with what they see as their world. And now the last question, number 4. What does the poet want for children of the slum? How can their lives be made to change? And the answer is The poet wants the governor, inspector, and visitors to visit the school. He wants them to see the plight of these kids and do something for their betterment. These kids should be provided with best amenities in order to make their life better. He wants these kids to visit beautiful places which are granted by the nature with its beauty. This will instill a hunger in them to study in order to make their life better. And this is all about the poem number 2, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum by Stephen Spender. Thank you.